ordinary on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, I'm not alone this evening. I have Emmanuel Michael. Michael, good evening and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening to you, Kingsley, and good evening to our viewers out there.
All right, let's quickly take a look at the situation of things as it concerns, the aftermath of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games we saw in Paris. The Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Investigative Committee established by Sports Development Minister John Wanino, of course, held its first hearing yesterday in Abuja, and the committee led by veteran journalist Mi Alo aims to address Nigeria's poor performance at the Paris Games, including issues like the omission of athletes, Favour Philly's name, doping allegations, and a questionable contract with actively black key officials, including the permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Sports Development and the head of the Federation of Elite Athletes Department, will present before the committee. Despite significant financial investment, Nigeria turned out without any medals, making the 8th time this has occurred in Olympic history. Michael, what do you make of it? We saw the first hearing yesterday in Abuja. I don't know how you see this one. How do you see this one? How do you see the end of this particular one? Because this is what a lot of Nigerians are waiting to hear. Looking at the abysmal performance, to say, of Team Nigeria at the Paris Olympic game. How do you see this particular committee? How do you see the end of this one?
For me, I think the committee first is made up of men of reputable character, people who have integrity. Journalists that have proven their own wealth in the profession over the years. Godwin Enahena as well, one of the veteran journalists that have also been included in this investigative panel. And I believe, for me, I think they are going to do a thorough job to bring forth a credible, evidence or tangible something that we can hold on to somebody and nail whosoever responsible for the abysmal performance of Team Nigeria in the just concluded Olympic Games. So for me, I think without any doubt, I believe that these men, as they were inaugurated, given the mandate or the responsibility to, probe into the matters of how Nigeria performed, not just perform abysmally, but other, embarrassing and disgraceful issues that emanated during the course of Nigeria taking part in the just concluded Paris Olympic Game. The issue of Favour Philly, how her name was actually omitted. You heard about the boxer that was sent packing from the Olympic Village, courtesy of the fact they said she failed a dope test, which she actually denied. But then the Boxing Federation did not make any case for that. Unlike what we saw other countries out there, whenever their team or athlete are in danger, they come to their rescue by making sure they pick up the fight for you. But then we didn't see that in the Boxing Federation. Then again, the sponsorship deal, it was more like a Nigerian team. They were also emerged with a whole lot of controversies during the just concluded Paris Olympic Game. And worst of it all, spending such big amount of money, about 9 billion was earmarked for that Nigerian voyage to the Paris Olympic Game, then nothing to show for it. So for me, it really calls for serious inquiry, and of course the sport ministry have deemed it necessary to set up these panels. So for me, I think looking at the credibility and the integrity of the men that have been appointed for this committee, I believe they are going to do a thorough job. So for me, let's just keep our fingers crossed, hoping that they are going to come out with a very good information or evidence so that we can actually know where the fault came from. Because the issue of Favour Philly, the sport ministry were denying that it wasn't their fault. The Athletic Federation, the AFN, nobody have accepted responsibility. Everybody is just trying to shift responsibility to say, no, AFN is saying we are not responsible for whatever occurred in the Paris or the Olympic game in the case of Favour Philly. And the Athletic Federation as well is saying, no, we are not responsible. The sport ministry, so who should be held culpable for this, embarrassing outing and some of the, disgraceful show of shame, I will call it. So I believe, like I said, let's just keep our fingers crossed, hoping that after the investigation, they are going to come up with something tangible that Nigerians can, hold on to.
All right, let's see how it goes. We're looking forward to see how this one, of course, will end. We saw the first hearing yesterday, and we hope that they will continue to investigate into all that happened in the Paris Olympic game. But yesterday, Enugu Rangers and the Nigerian Premier Football League were able to get past Bayelsa United by a lone goal. One goal to it ended in that encounter. And of course, so far so good, Michael. Hasn't been a very poor start, for Enugu Rangers. 4 games played so far. They've won 2, they lost 1 and drew 1.
Yeah, just like you said, it hasn't been a very poor start for Enugu Rangers. And of course, you should expect that as a defending champion, you don't just win the league, then you go back and start sleeping on your... you must also try to push, even to surpass your previous outing when he won the league. And for me, Fidelis Ilechukwu with his boys out there, they actually did very well. Though he may say that it was a very, very difficult game for them because they had to wait for about 70 minutes before they could, score that lone goal that gifted them all 3 points at the Cathedral yesterday. So for me, I think very, very good for them. Winning that one, getting 3 points on the road, I think adding that to what they've had already, that had further pushed them up the ladders. I think they are within the top 5 team as it is, courtesy of that win yesterday. So for me, I believe as a defending champion, he must show strength and character. He must show determination. He must show consistency if you truly want to defend the title that you win last time. Let it not be the issue of a Napoli that after winning the Scudetto for 33 good years, the following year, they find it very difficult to replicate the form that we saw them, exhibit when they actually won the league. In fact, it was so embarrassing that they couldn't even qualify for Europe after winning the league. So I think Fidelis Ilechukwu want to avoid this, and that is why they are doing everything possible to ensure that at least they keep themselves up there with the top teams like Remo Stars. Teams like Rivers United have also started in a good fashion. Teams like Enyimba as well. So we need them, some of these big name teams, so that we'll see a healthy competition.
All right, it's been worrisome, Michael, for the likes of Bayelsa United. They've not won any games since the season, of course, started. And they have been managed by one of the best when it has to do with, club football or maybe football here in Nigeria. Talking about Ladan Boso. Poor start for Bayelsa United under Ladan Boso. What do you make of it?
I think for me it's quite disturbing. But then I think it's just time. He need time to be able to, get his act right. Don't forget last season they also struggled, talking about Bayelsa United. This season as well, getting a new coach, I think I should expect them to, change the narrative by starting to get some positive result. But it has remained the same, as they are finding it very difficult, to find their form since the start of this season, which for me is a big worry because taking a look at how they actually struggled last season before escaping relegation, you should expect them to, hit their peak, to hit, the ground running this season with such a quality coach. But then that is what you get. Sometimes it just it doesn't mean whether you've coached at the top echelon before. What it means is that you must be able to prove that. And once you are not proving that on the pitch of play with your team out there, nobody, consider your past achievement, So for me, it's just one of those things. Don't also forget that even Emmanuel Amunike, who also is the new coach of Heartland, is also finding it very, very difficult. He's also struggling since the start of the season as well. So it's a big problem for them. Let's see what they bring to the table in their next game, if they can be able to get all 3 points going forward.
All right, let's see how it goes. We hope that Bayelsa United will be able to get all 3 points, as it is this weekend. But with this, the weekend fixtures for the MPFL, we'll see Lobby Stars against Shooting Stars, and as well we'll see Kwara United against Remo Stars. And as well, we'll see Nasra United against Bayelsa United, Kano Pillars against Sunshine Stars, Eyimba will lock ons against Katsina United, and Rivers United will be national against Akwa United. Heartland will lock ons against Niger Tornadoes, Bender Insurance against Economy Warriors. We also see Plateau United against Ikorodu City, and as well, Enugu Rangers, of course, will play the Oriental Derby against Abia Warriors. But Michael, I'm also concerned about Akwa United. They are one of the teams that have actually gotten a poor start this season. I don't know what you make of it. They will be playing away from home this weekend. They will be at the Adokeme Simaka Stadium against Rivers United. Do you see them, trying to see how they can clear the, poor states for the team so far this season?
Quite unfortunately, they are coming against a team that is in form already. Talking about Rivers United under Finidi George, I think they've been very, very good so far since the start of this season. And for Akwa United, having struggled last season, this season as well, they've also started on a very shaky note, losing 2 straight games in a bounce. Last 2 weeks they lost at their home ground at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. The last week as well they lost away. This time around, coming to meet an informed team, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult one for the Baba Gana led side. But then it is football, like I always say, anything can happen. You can't rule away upset in it. But realistically speaking, I think it will be a very, very difficult. The highest that Akwa United can get against Rivers United might be just a point, that is a draw. But I don't even see them getting a draw against an informed Akwa United. Because don't forget, this same Akwa United just defeated Enyimba. Rivers United, they just defeated Enyimba a few days ago. And they are still basking under the euphoria of their fine form and the good work that Finidi George is doing already. And that is why I'm saying that it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Akwa United.
All right. Of course, I think on Wednesday we saw the man talking about Finidi George. He was at the Eyimba Stadium to watch that game between Eyimba and Akwa United. Maybe to learn 1 or 2 about Akwa United, looking at the fact that he'll be facing them this weekend. Yeah,
a lot of some of the top coaches who actually were on ground to watch that game. The likes of Finidi George was there, Oloruleke Ojo was there, Van Dresser was there. There are some other ex-NPFL stars who also turned up big time to also watch that one. Even the chairman of Enyimba, Kano Nwankwo Papilo, was also there. So it looks as though if you take a look at the trajectory of events in the Nigerian Premier Football League, we are gradually improving in all spheres. We are seeing this kind of thing happening in the English Premier League, where you see managers moving from their own camp to go to different stadiums to sit down and watch, games live, possibly to, take an expo from their opponent where they intend to play in the next game out there. So we are beginning to see this kind of thing in the Nigerian Premier Football League, which for me I think is key, to improving their antics out there in terms of adding more quality, to what they know already. Because when you go to live matches, you sit back, you watch the game, and you take a look at their weaknesses and you capitalize on it whenever you want to face such team. It makes it even more easier for you to know the weak points of any team so that you can also take advantage of it and get all 3 points against such team when you come up against them. So what a nice method we are seeing.
All right, so we'll look forward to see how Rivers United will be able to slaughter Akwa United at the slaughter ground, talking about the Adokeme Simaka Stadium. We hope that Baba Ganaro and his men will be able to survive that slaughter this weekend. But Michael, today we saw the 2024 Annual General Assembly of the Nigerian Football Federation. That one, of course, was held in Asaba, Delta State, capital, and all delegates arrived yesterday in Delta State, for this particular one. And the NFF Annual General Assembly, of course, is the biggest assemblage of football administrators and stakeholders in the country in a given year, and serve as the melting points of interplay of ideas and eventual formulation of policies and rules and regulations that govern the administration and organization of the game nationally for the succeeding 1 year. Michael, of course, we're able to hear from the Nigerian Football Federation President, Ibrahim Musa Gusso, as well as the Sports Minister. Amaju Pinnick, of course, was also there today. And talking about the Nigerian Football Federation President, talking about Musa Gusso, he said a lot today about what he has been able to do or achieve in this space of 1 year, that is 2024. I know you actually heard him. I don't know what you make of all that he said. He mentioned the fact that at least the Super Eagles were able to get to the finals of for the AFCON. The Super Falcons did well in the FIFA World Cup as well. Talked about the prowess of the under-17. Do you see the year 2024 to be a success in terms of football for Nigeria under Ibrahim Gusso?
Well, we hope for that because as a patriotic Nigerian, I always hope for anything good or everything good for my country, because if it goes well with every sector, it is also to our own benefit as citizens as well. So we hope to see a better development of football under the leadership of Ibrahim Gusso before his tenure comes to a last. But then, picking some of the keynote address, some of the things that you mentioned about what they have achieved so far since he came on board. He talked about the improvement of the Super Eagles, where we got to the final of the last African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. He talked about the exploit of the Super Falcons in the World Cup, where we were grouped against some of the big teams and even the host country, but then we still wangled out of the group successfully. Did pretty well to so many football footballers out there, qualified and went for the Olympic game, though we didn't have a very good outing at the Paris Olympic game. We're under 17 as well. Under 20 Women World Cup, we also, did our best, just that our best wasn't good enough as well. So take a look at it by and large. What they've actually added to the league as well cannot be swept under the carpet. I think under the last days or months in office for Ibrahim Gusso, we've seen a bit of improvement in terms of the Nigerian Premier Football League, in terms of publicity, in terms of new ideas and innovation, in terms of introducing some technological advancement. We've also improved a lot in terms of refereeing decision and all of that. Then you talk about the Nigerian Women Football League as well. I think we've also improved a bit, in that area as well. The only angle we are yet to, maybe, gotten it right is in terms of VAR deployment in the league. We have actually not introduced the VAR, but then I believe that the NFF chairman or chairperson is also aware about the need for us to introduce VAR in the league, and he talked about that before the last African Cup of Nations. But then he made it very clear that we need to train some personnel that can be able to handle some of these VAR machine appropriately before we can then introduce it. I think that is the only thing, and I believe within this time some of those personnel are undergoing some trainings out there to get themselves acquainted or gain mastery of over the VAR machine, so that they can be able to deploy it appropriately. So for me, that is the only area we still need to see a lot of improvement. Then you talk about he talked about revitalization of Nigerian football. Have we seen that during his time in office? Of course, a little bit here and there you may want to say, but in terms of a total revitalization of football, I think we've not seen that, because when you talk about grassroots football, how far have we fared? You talk about the school football, regional football competition, interstate football competition. Have we actually seen that? I mean, we need to start from the grassroots if we are talking about holistic improvement or development of football in the country. So I believe, given the time before his tenure elapsed in office, we are still going to go maybe 1 or 2 steps further to further improve the level of the league. But in all, you cannot totally say that he has done bad since he came on board.
Ibrahim Gusso, just like you mentioned, really emphasized more on bringing the VAR, especially in his tenure. Talking about VAR, do you think the stadiums we have in the country, are they good enough to, to have this video assistant referee technology?
Well, there's one thing about having the VAR. Of course, the level of the pitch or the nature of the pitch cannot stop VAR from noting the accurate decision, timely decision. I think what we should be talking about is, are we really ready for the VAR? This is another thing, because in terms of deployment of the VAR, even in a more organized climb, a more improved league like the EPL, we've seen a lot of controversies starting from last season. There are so many coaches that actually got themselves asked just because they went to the media to voice their displeasure about how the VAR was deployed. We saw that during the time of Jurgen Klopp. We saw how Mikel Arteta as well last season vented his anger against some of those decisions that didn't go his way. VAR at some point, in fact this season, the clubs, the 20 clubs in England had to go for voting whether the VAR should stay or not. It's just that the club that brought up the matter, Everton and the Nottingham Forest, they did not get, majority percentage, percent rather, of the voting. They did not have the 2/3%. I think it was only 2 clubs that voted against the scrapping of VAR. The rest 18 clubs voted in favor. So for me, I think that is the only thing we should be bothered about now. But then you ask, are we truly ready for it? Of course, we should be ready for it. Other African countries, they have started the deployment of VAR. Even they just concluded, African University game that was held in Lagos a few days ago, that just concluded. We saw VAR. VAR was deployed in the All African University game that we hosted in Lagos State. So if it could be deployed in the All African University game, how much more a league such as big as Nigerian Premier Football League? So I think we should do everything possible to properly put men capable of handling this VAR mesh. And for the pitch, it is something that we continue to talk about. I think the only pitch in terms of club football right here in the country that you can give a nod and say, oh, all right, though it might not meet the standard of CAF in quote, but then taking a look at the nature of the league, you may say it is one of the best. In fact, it is the best club-wise. Right now it's Remo Star. They have, and this is a private-owned club. They have their pitch top-notch, very, very good. You need to, watch or go see how their pitch look like. But even they revered Adoki Amasemaka Stadium, they revered the Cathedral, Aba Township Stadium. Just name them. Ikeneta, just name them. Which of these pitch will you say is top-notch? So if we wait until all our pitches is properly put to place before we now start the use of VAR, maybe we are going to wait till the next, 100 years.
All right, let's see how it is, because we have to take a look at all of this issue, looking at the fact that video assistant referee will be coming into Nigerian football, just like the president of the Nigerian Football Federation has said. We look forward to see how that will materialize at the end of the day. But at this point, we have to take a break. When we'll come back from the break, we'll be able to bring you the latest revolving around the beautiful world of sports. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Atlantic Television Network, and of course, we'll bring you the latest revolving around beautiful water sports this weekend. And we saw some games yesterday in the Europa League, and of course, one of the games that people really focused on was the game between Manchester United and FC Porto. It ended 3-0, and United, of course, were able to pick a point in that encounter. Michael, a lot of criticism on Manchester United, taking a look at their poor performance so far this season. What has really gone wrong for United?
I think this time around, it is the coach. It is the coach that has gone wrong with United. Erik ten Hag is not just getting it right because you may say before the start of the season there were a whole lot of issues talking about in terms of the Old Trafford roof leaking, in terms of stadium renovation, in terms of new ownership structure and all of that. But then since Jim Ratcliffe came in, they've been able to sort out some of those challenges. Now their only focus for this season to look at how to churn out good results in the pitch of play, and not about what is happening at Old Trafford in terms of the the pitch or the condition of training facilities. So for me, I think the only thing wrong with Manchester United right now is Erik ten Hag, who have not been able to get a clear-cut identity on how Manchester United should play. In fact, watching Manchester United play these days, they look ordinary. You can't just sit throughout the 90 minutes, to watch Manchester United because they don't have a philosophy, they don't have a pattern of play, they are not coordinated, So for me, and that is why Erik ten Hag have continued to get scrutiny and criticism from different quarters. This is a courtesy of the poor result it's been churning out since the start of last season. In fact, Manchester United had their worst finish in the English Premier League last season, where they finished 8th position. But this time around, they've actually started on a very poor note. I think Erik ten Hag should be held responsible. Why am I saying this? Is that Erik ten Hag got the players of his choice that he had needed. Some of the big names that he had worked with at Ajax, FC. He got some of these players, yet Manchester United is not yet, having a very fine run as it is. In fact, last night they had to come from, that embarrassing 2 goals that they conceded after taking 2 goals lead in the space of 2 minutes. Manchester United was cruising home. So many persons thought it was, going to be a roller coaster ride, because taking a 2-goal advantage within the space of first 20 minutes in such a game, I mean, you should capitalize on it. It's either you score more goal or you protect the 2 goals that you already scored already. But then they allowed FC Porto to come back into the game. Scored, made it 2-1. Before you say Jack, they've made it 2-2, and even went further to take the lead 3-2. This is a game that Manchester United took a 2 goals lead advantage within the space of 20 minutes. So for me, I think it clearly tells you that there is no character in the team right now. Bruno Fernandes, the captain of the team, that you should expect to lead from the front line as a captain of a team. He's not even getting it right. After picking up a red card in the last game, though the red card has been appealed, this is the second red card he got yesterday. And as a leader in a team, should you be showing this kind of attitude when you are beginning to get red card, week after week? What are you telling the rest members of your team? I mean, I think it is a quite disappointing, game so far that we've seen under Erik ten Hag and Manchester United. And I tell you, just time may be the only thing that is standing between Manchester United relieving Erik ten Hag of his job. Because I tell you, despite the rumor that we had that the authority is still backing him, if he continues to churn out bad results, they will have no option that to let him go.
All right, let's see how things goes down for Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. We hope they will be able to get things right. But talking about other results we saw in the Europa League, Ferencváros had lost to Tottenham Hotspur by 2-1. Hoffenheim, they beat Dynamo Kiev 2-0, and Lazio beat Nice by 4-1. Maccabi Tel Aviv, they lost to Midtjylland by 2-0. Olympiacos, they beat Braga by 3-0. Karabakh lost to Malmo by 2-1. Real Sociedad, they lost to Anderlecht by 2-1. Riga's Footballer, they played 2-draw against Galatasaray. And the Slava Prague played 1-draw against Ajax. Athletic Bilbao, they beat AZ Alkmaar 2-0. Besiktas lost to Eintracht Frankfurt by 3-1. And of course, we told you that Manchester United played 3-draw against FC Porto. FC Twente played 1-draw against Fenerbahce, and Victoria Plzen they played goalless against Ludogorets. And we saw Augsburg, they beat Roma by 1-0 in that encounter. And we saw the likes of Rangers losing to Lyon by 4-1. Union Saint Cluj, they of course drew against Bodo Glimt. It ended goalless in that one. But in the Conference League, Chelsea were very fantastic yesterday, beating Genk by 4-2 in that encounter. Was a lovely performance, Michael, from the Blues.
Yeah, a lovely performance, you want to say. And Enzo Maresca is still trying to, do some experiments in terms of the players, and he's still doing some squad rotation to actually get his first 11. Because you take a look at the players he fielded in that yesterday's game, about 11 of those players, were not the same lineup he started in his last game. So that clearly tells you that he's still doing, more like an experiment to get to select his first 11. And of course, you should know that in a team that has a large, players, that has a large squad rather, everyone will be up and doing because you want to be among that first 11. And that is why whenever he fills in entire new players from his previous lineup, they still get the result. Why? Because everybody, when you are thrown into the pitch of play, you want to prove a point to the coach so that at least you can be one of those first 11 that is going to work with, and not being a fringe or a substitute player, out there. So for me, I think Chelsea is doing pretty well as it stands. 5 games in a row, haven't not lost any, and they are scoring goals like never before. I think the only thing they have against them right now is the defense line. They must tighten up their defense line. Though, like I say, he's still working on trying to do some experiment to get, the right choice. Because one thing they have going for them is that everybody in the front line, both the midfielders, they are scoring. They don't just depend on one player, maybe like Cole Palmer, to do the magic any day. Anybody get to score, either Noni Madueke, Nicola Jackson. When you don't even least expect Nicola Jackson, he turns up. Cole Palmer has been very impressive. Renato Vigna, Neto, João Felix. I tell you, I think it's just time that Chelsea need for Enzo Maresca to at least get it right. And when they blend, I tell you, Chelsea might just be that team, to watch out for this season.
All right, let's see how it goes. We hope that there will definitely be that team to watch out for. There's a lot of, good talks down there for Chelsea Football Club, taking a look at what Enzo Maresca is doing. But talking about other results, Edenham, they beat Olympia by 2-1. And also the likes of Astana, they beat Boca by 1-0. And Brugge, they actually, of course, got that result from what we saw down there. They beat Galen 6-2. And Dynamo Mix, they lost to Hearts by 2-1. Liga Warsaw beat Real Betis by 1-0. Mode, they beat Lane by 3-0, and Noah beat Lady by 2-0 as well. And we saw the likes of both Leslav. They actually, of course, didn't get a favorable results in that encounter we saw. And we told you that Chelsea played 4-2 against Genk in that one. And FC Copenhagen, they lost to Jagiellonian by 2-1. Those are some of the results we saw in the Conference League yesterday. Let's quickly move on as we take a look at some fixtures in the Premier League this weekend. It promises to be another exciting weekend in the English Premier League, as we'll see different matches as well in different centres. This weekend we'll see Crystal Palace against Liverpool. We'll also see the likes of Arsenal against Southampton, and as well Brentford against Wolverhampton Wanderers. We'll also see Leicester City, the Wolverhamptons against Bournemouth, and as well we'll see Manchester City against Fulham, West Ham United will also lock on against Ipswich Town, Everton against Newcastle United, and we'll see Aston Villa against Manchester United. Chelsea will lock on against Nottingham Forest, Brighton against Tottenham Hotspur. Michael, let's take a look at that encounter at Chelsea against Nottingham Forest. You see that to be, a straight win for Chelsea.
No. Why am I saying no? Not just because Chelsea, have been in fine form in their last 5 games, but then I'm saying no because Nottingham Forest, if I remember just how they were able to get all 3 points against Liverpool, then I tend to think twice.
But since then, they've not really been fantastic.
They've not really been fantastic, but then when they come up against a big team, they tend to, ruffle their shoulder. They tend to give you a very difficult game out there. So it's not going to be a one-way win for Chelsea. Then they must, sweat it out there. Just like you said, since they got their victory against Liverpool under Ancelotti, they've not been able to maintain that momentum. So this time around, coming up against another, informed team like Chelsea might find it very difficult. And if care is not taken, they might lose that game. That is just what I'm seeing. But in all fairness, I tell you, it is a match that Chelsea is supposed to get all 3 points. But taking a look at the dynamics of football, it is very, very unpredictable that Nottingham Forest might just take all 3 points. But I tell you, one thing is certain, it's going to be an interesting game to watch.
Aston Villa, Manchester United. You see Aston Villa doing what they know how to do best so far this season against United.
I tell you, it's a game to watch out for because it's a game of consequences. It's a game of consequence rather. Or consequences. Why? Because you may say, yeah, Aston Villa, they are doing very well. Their coach is not under any pressure whatsoever. But then, it's a game of consequence to Aston Villa because if they drop all 3 points, it's going to affect them on the league table as well. And, Aston Villa seems to be, ranked among the top 4 as it is right now. So they need to get all 3 points to keep themselves in proper pace to chase against the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. Then a game of consequence on the other hand for Erik ten Hag because the pressure is piling against him. In fact, the scrutiny, the criticism is growing much, much higher every day and every game that goes by. Just like yesterday, he was spared some of the blushes because they managed to get a draw in a game that they were supposed to win. So this time around is not going to be different. It is a serious pressure on Erik ten Hag. But one thing that shocks me most is that the man came out this afternoon to say that he's not bothered. When he was asked about if he get a very bad result against Aston Villa, he said that is the least of his problem as it is right now. That is not bothered about that they had agreement with the owner and everybody is sticking to the agreement, believing his other excuses were that he got a new crops of players, new young players, so they need time to blend. But he also assured that Manchester United should watch out because he said to him they should not judge Manchester United for now, but they should judge Manchester United at the end of the season. So for me, I think let's hope that he's able to get all 3 points, at least to relieve Manchester United fans of the heartbreak that they are going through this time around. But one thing is very certain, that it's going to be a very, very exciting and a very tough game.
All right, let's say it goes one of the top fixtures this weekend. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. Well, straight now to the Spanish La Liga, as we'll see Leganés against Valencia today, but we'll see the likes of Espanyol against Real Mallorca Tomorrow, Getafe against Osasuna, Las Palmas against Celta Vigo, Real Valladolid against Real Vallecano, and Real Madrid will lock on against Villarreal. Girona against Atletica Bilbao. We'll see Alaves against Barcelona. Sevilla against Real Betis. Real Sociedad against Atletico Madrid. Michael, Real Madrid, they seem not to be that, very fantastic. They seem not to be that, excellent in terms of they lost to Lille in the UEFA Champions League. I don't know what you make of the performance of Liverpool so far. I beg your pardon, Real Madrid.
I think for me, they have not been that totally convincing so far this season. When they got Kylian Mbappe and Hendrick to add to their squad depth this season, people thought that, yeah, every game that Madrid plays is going to be, victory all through. But he has proven not to be what so many thought as they've actually been struggling a bit, you want to say. And it is very typical of Real Madrid. They don't start this season on a very smart note, but then as the league continues to wear on, they gain their momentum. So it promises to be another game that we need to watch out. After losing their Champions League game, of course you expect them to bounce back very, very strong this time around. Let's hope that Don Carlo Ancelotti can also get that winning magic back this weekend.
Atletico Madrid, they're also one side not looking that very much convincing. I think they lost their this weekend UEFA Champions League encounter as well. This weekend against Real Sociedad, Diego Simeone, a lot is expected from him, if you ask me. But for Barcelona, they'll be looking us against Alaves. That should be a must-win for Barcelona.
Yes, of course, it must be a win for Barcelona to keep up the pace against Real Madrid. Don't forget, in their Champions League, they were able to bounce back from their last loss against Osasuna to dismantle rather young boys, in their Champions League game. So they want to build up on that very game. Consider the fact that they lost their last La Liga game to Osasuna, and another loss will further, draw them back a bit, and that might give Real Madrid that opportunity to close up the gap if Madrid win their game. So they know that Madrid is chasing after them, and they want to do everything possible to continue to pick all 3 points, building up to the El Clasico that we are going to see this month.
All right, let's move down to the Italian Serie A. Napoli, Michael, will lock on against Como in the Serie A. Says Fabregas, what is it cooking down there at Como?
Well, for me, I think that is going to be another tricky tie. Very tricky game is going to be. For Napoli, I think they've gotten back their mojo since they lost their first game, their first league game under Antonio Conte. They've gone past that dismal outing. This time around, they are picking up the point, showing some sign of improvement, even without Victor Osimhen. I think they've been scoring the goals, they've been getting the results. And against an informed Como that is also proven to be a giant killer this time around, it's going to be a very tough one. But let's see. But I tell you, I'm still sticking out my neck that SS Napoli is going to get all 3 points against Como because of the experience of Antonio Conte.
Verona will lock on against Venezia, and we'll also see the likes of Udinese against Lecce, and Atalanta will lock on against Genoa. Inter Milan will lock on against Torino. I also see Juventus against Cagliari, Bologna against Parma, and Lazio will lock on against Empoli, Monza against Roma, Fiorentina against AC Milan. Those are the fixtures we'll be expecting in the Italian Serie A. Let's quickly move on as we take a look at the German Bundesliga. We're going to see Augsburg against Borussia Mönchengladbach, and the FC Union Berlin against Borussia Dortmund. Bayer Leverkusen lock on against Holstein Kiel. Bochum against Wolfsburg. Werder Bremen against Freiburg. We'll see St. Pauli against Metz, and Heidenheim will lock on against RB Leipzig. Eintracht Frankfurt against Bayern Munich, and we'll also see Stuttgart against Hoffenheim as well. Talking about the French Ligue 1, we also see some fixtures down there. as well this weekend, as Leganes will lock us against Valencia. We'll see as yes, beg your pardon. Those are the fixtures, of course, we'll bring to you. But maybe tomorrow we'll make a return to see what we can do to bring you some fixtures coming from the French League One. But Mike, what do you make of it? PSG yourself will be in action this weekend. And from what it is, the week wasn't a good one for them in the UEFA Champions League, where they were beaten by Arsenal Football Club in the Champions League match day 2.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one in the Champions League for Paris Saint-Germain, but then I think they will be hoping to bounce back after that, defeat in the hand they suffered in the hand of Arsenal. You may want to say, yeah, so many persons actually attributed the absence of, Ousmane Dembele. They have been informed for the Parisian side, as a cause of the loss or the defeat against Arsenal. This time around, I think Ousmane Dembele has also apologized to the coach. They've actually settled their dispute, and I hope that the coach is going to reinstate him back in the first 11, and that will also even further to add more strength to the PSG team. And with that, I think they are going to get all 3 points.
All right, at this point, we'll call it a wrap on the show. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, to bring you another exciting edition of Sports Extraordinary. But before then, Sports Personality will make a return by 7 a.m., where we'll take a look at another sports personality as well. Special thanks to Michael for doing justice on the show this evening. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel. Thanks for watching.